Yeah, I'm Kathleen. I work for Lucid Software's product partnerships team. I'm lucky enough to work with all sorts of partners, the Googles of the world, the startups of the world, really fun world, and I'm super excited for things like this to chat about the things that we build together. A couple of fun facts about Lucid. First of all, we have over 100 million users who are using our products to build, ideate, create, design, and of course our bread and butter is collaborating. We are the standard in the enterprise. We are actually the 12th most used tool on among Okta customers. So people really trust us for our security and our advanced functionality. And we've been building for more than 15 years. And I'll talk about this more in a couple of slides, but we've been building with Google for just about that same amount of time. Okay, just to make sure we're on the same page, here's the quick intro to our products. I will keep this as not pitchy as possible. But Lucid Chart is an intelligent diagramming tool. I'm sure this group is pretty familiar with how you can build and plan within Lucid Chart. We also have a really fun tool called Lucid Spark where you can collaborate, ideate, really work with your teams to build those ideas. These tools are also really nicely connected, so you can switch back and forth between the UIs on the same document, something I use all the time. Okay, want to make sure we all know what we're talking about today, because these products were really important to why and how we built with Google Chat. Now that we're finished with the pitch section, we're going to do a history lesson. But I really want to make it clear that our work with chat is just the newest evolution with a long history of working with Google Workspace. So Lucid got started in 2010, and that same year we partnered with Google on a launch of the Google Apps Marketplace. So we were on there from the very get-go, and we actually quickly became a really popular tool on the marketplace. So there's a really good fit from the beginning there. And then I always like to highlight, because I was very excited about, the most recent thing is we were awarded Partner of the Year. And honestly, my little secret for this group is that I think our decision to build with Google Chat was a big reason for that. So the theme of the day is why it worked out really well for us to build early and build really collaboratively with Google Chat. Okay, so we made this decision though, not lightly. We took a lot of time to find the right signal, make sure that we were investing in the right things. So how did we get here? Okay, kind of a lot going on in this slide, but I want to really make it clear that we have about 5 signals that we look at whenever we decide to invest in anything, whether it's a new partnership, a new feature, a new integration, all that good stuff. So I'm going to talk about the really high-level concept of these investments, and then we'll talk specifically about how that applied to Google Chat. So first of all, attract new users. We are all in the businesses of generating revenue, and as I'm sure you all know, generating revenue comes from getting new users. So we're really excited about features and partnerships that are going to bring net new people to the Lucid ecosystem. The second thing, though, is increasing engagement with existing users, because it's half the battle to get new people. It's a whole other battle to keep them engaged and excited about our products. Third is reducing deal friction. Again, we're all businesses here, and we pay really close attention to customers who are hesitant to buy, or they're not super sure about renewing with us because we're missing something, or a competitor has something that we don't, all that stuff. Next is being a strategic value to Lucid. So we really care about what our customers think, but we also want to make sure we're thinking about the long term here and building out the right strategies and the right partnerships, again, with the Googles of the world. And then last, but certainly not least, and something that's omnipresent for us, is that we really want to make sure we're doing partnerships with the partners that are also excited about building with us. It's such an uphill battle if we're really excited about building, but the partner doesn't quite see the value of Lucid, or they don't quite see the importance of the integration. We just find that it's much trickier to build when a partner isn't as engaged as maybe we are. And we use kind of a secret sauce scoring system here, which I want to highlight because if one thing is really strong and the other is weak, we want to really acknowledge that and make sure that we're addressing these across the board. Okay, but how does that apply to Google Chat in particular? So start with attracting new users. In our discovery, we knew that a lot of our current customers and potential customers are shifting over to Google Chat, and we really care about staying ahead of the curve there. We also knew that our integrations marketplace in general is really strong. We've got 120 plus and growing integrations. And some of our most popular integrations are the ones with other messaging applications. We know that people love to build and then share boards with each other within their given messaging application. So we knew that Google Chat was going to be increasingly important there. Okay, next is increasing engagement with existing users. This was kind of a cool thing that we highlighted briefly on the timeline, but a couple of months before we decided to build with Google Chat, we actually released a Smart Chips integration, and we were pretty blown away by the data here. When we released a Smart Chips integration, we saw a 29% increase in Google Workspace users, so we knew that as Google was investing in new things, that was going to bring some new engagement for us. Okay, next is reducing deal friction. I'll keep this kind of high level and sorry, but a little bit vague, but we know that some of our largest customers and most important customers are using Google Chat. So we had a pretty big risk actually in not building in time. Okay, just about done with this section, but we see Google, of course, as a really strategic partner for us. And so we knew that we wanted to continue that history, that there's a long-term play of always working with the Googles of the world. And especially relevant now is AI, which I know we've been talking about all day, but we know how quickly things change in the AI space, and we want to make sure that we're partnered with the right people because of that. Okay, last but not least is the Google team was really excited. We knew about the investments that they were making in Google Chat. They also knew that the more of an ecosystem they have in that space, the better. And so we were really excited that Google was really excited about what we were building here. Okay, so we did all our homework. We figured out what we want to build and why, and then we got started on actually building it. Okay, another timeline for everyone, but I thought this would be helpful to show the full timeline here of when we committed to when we launched. So August was all of that discovery that I was mentioning, where we were talking to customers. We had some really great customers that were mutual customers of ours and Google's, and they were willing and excited to chat about basically the fact that they were using Google Chat, and they were thrilled about the idea of us building with Chat, and they also already had a lot of opinions about what it should look like. In September, we worked on internal alignment and some design mocks. I'll talk about this more later, but cannot emphasize enough how helpful it was to have some really rough designs. I think it maybe stressed out our product and engineering teams to have what was just above a sketch, but it was really helpful to be able to show our customers, hey, here's vaguely what we're thinking about building, what do you think? In December was when we started our actual build, and I want to emphasize that we started in December and launched in April, but the actual build process was much shorter than that full time span. It was more just waiting so that we could make this big announcement in April. And then last, well, I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but we launched in July, and we've just continued to do lots of really fun co-marketing with Google, so it's been a continued conversation there. Okay, a little bit more detail on design. So like I mentioned, focusing on customer feedback was really big. We knew that from our other really popular messaging integrations that people really like sending URLs to each other. Who would have thought? But we also knew that people use Google Chat in slightly different ways from other tools, and we wanted to make sure we understood what that looked like and that we were building the right thing. Like I said, we built mocks super early. They were very low fidelity, but really high importance and really helpful to show customers. And then based on all that customer feedback, we built use cases that were pretty different from what our original hypothesis was for what would be valuable. So it was really important to talk to customers early. And then last, we wanted to make sure that what we wanted to build was going to be feasible, both with our APIs and with our resources and all of that good stuff. For those who were just at Joe's talk, super relevant because a big conversation that we had was all around scopes. And to his advice, we touched briefly into a restricted scope area and decided it's not worth it. We're actually going to build something we can get faster to market here, and we'll worry about that restricted stuff later on. So we did pretty much exactly what he was talking about. Okay, next up was the actual build process. Again, I'm going to keep things kind of high level, but I want to really highlight a couple of factors that we found were really helpful in the build process. So first, the history of the partnership that I mentioned earlier, super valuable because we had done a lot of the work already for our other integrations. So we had existing architecture that we could just build on top of, which made it go a lot faster. It also made the approval side easier. And then we were also able to use the same authentication framework, which is really important to us because we care a ton about security as well and wanted to make sure that anything new met those same standards. And then I want to highlight too, a little plug for Google, but the developer preview program was really helpful. It's not every day that you get to talk to an enterprise as big as Google and have feedback that actually gets implemented. And so we're really happy to be part of that program and happy that we can have a pretty open and candid conversation about what our experience is. And there were actually things that we were able to say to Google, hey, you guys are the pro in many things, but we're the pro in visual collaboration, and here's how people are going to probably share within Google Chat a specifically visual tool, and we were able to provide a lot of feedback for the UI there. Okay, and then we launched, easy peasy. So launching was really fun. Like I said, it's been a really continued conversation. Want to highlight that we really focused on the story across the Google ecosystem. We were super excited about Google Chat and it being kind of the newest evolution for us, but we also wanted to make it really clear that it's just one piece of the full integration suite, I'll call it, that we have with Google. So telling the full story and making sure that users understand not just how Lucid works with Google Chat, but also how Lucid works with Meet and Docs and Slides and Sheets and Drive and how all those things connect was a messaging that we think really resonated with our customers. I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, but I was blown away by how relevant it was for this chat build. Focus on the value over the features. We were super excited about some functionality, and I'll show you what it actually looks like very soon. But the value that customers found was really simple, and it just made their lives easier. That's what we wanted to highlight. And then last, repeat the story. I think it's really easy to launch something and never talk about it again. But with chat, we've been really repeatedly bringing this up, repeatedly applying it to our other ecosystem, and just talking about the overall picture there. Okay, so let me show you what it actually looks like. So what we built that was really fun was we built a search functionality within chat so people can quickly pull up Lucid documents within the chat ecosystem. I don't know about you all, but I'm very much a 100 times at once person, or 100 tabs at once person. So I really value being able to just search and send something within Google Chat. And then the other thing that we built was a really fun link preview functionality so that people can send a link and then Google Chat does its magic and can show a quick preview of the link itself. This was really interesting because we found with other messaging platforms that it's really valuable for engagement for the Lucid side, where people want to get a little hint of what's in the board and then they click it to go into the details. But kind of a fun quote, and goes back to that simplicity that I was talking about. We talked to one customer who said it's actually less about in the moment when I get the link, the preview is nice, and I'm going to click on the link regardless. They said what's really exciting is the longer term, where a couple of weeks later, they think, oh, I sent that board to Clio and it had, I know it was like purple and orange or something like that, and they scroll through their chat history to find it. So like not what we built for, but so valuable for them that they said, I used to have to just look at a bunch of blue links and I had no idea which was the right link. So those previews have been huge. Okay, so how did it all turn out? I know this is like a comically vague graph, and I promise it's actual real data, but we had to keep it pretty high level here. But I do actually want to be pretty transparent about what we found after launch, because it was really interesting and not super intuitive. So what I can share about this graph is that the yellow is our overall usage of Google Chat post-launch. The red is for that search functionality that I showed first, and the blue is for our link preview functionality that I showed second. So really cool thing here is that you can see the huge spike when we first announced and we did all of our messaging and our marketing moments and all that good stuff. And then it kind of went down a little bit, and then Google did its own marketing and it spiked back up again. But the interesting thing is when we first announced and talked a lot about the specific functionality, a lot of people thought like, oh, that's so cool that I can do a / search and look within the product. I'm going to start doing that and start trying it. So you can see this spike. And people were less like interested in the link preview functionality. But as time went on, people tried the search, thought like, yeah, that's helpful, but not a big deal. They probably also have Lucid tabs open like I do all the time, where it's just as easy to copy and paste. And so what we see there is the blue got really popular because that's kind of just the natural way that people have been using the product. So I want to highlight there that obviously tracking is really important, both for just knowing how you're doing, but also for learning things that would have been kind of counterintuitive. Again, if we had looked just after launch, we would have thought like, okay, awesome, search is really popular, we did the right thing there. And then seeing that as things have shifted, it's more like, okay, this is actually how people are going to use this long term. Okay, to close out, I want to share 6 tips on building with Google. So number 1, focus on the customer. Something that I'm sure you all know already, but we were really impressed by how much customer feedback affected how we built things, when we built things, what we specifically built. Like we just constantly talk to customers about this and learn from them. Number 2, and this is probably like if you remember anything from this talk, remember this, is do your research, like figure out your homework, make sure it's the right investment, but also commit fast and early when you're 90% sure about something. I think something that really honestly paid off really well for us was getting enough proxy data and enough information around Google Chat to feel good about it, and then saying like, we're going to go do this and we're going to figure it out with Google instead of waiting for every single bit of data ever to make us feel good about the investment. Number 3 is find the mutual benefits. This applies to any partner, but we found it really important to figure out basically what Google needs out of this integration and what we do, and of course what our mutual customers do. And when you figure out the mix of all of those, you can build a really strong integration. Give and take feedback. Again, it might feel obvious, but I was blown away by how important it was that Google was open to hearing a lot of our feedback through the program, and they were also willing and excited to share with us, ideas that they had, thoughts that we hadn't thought about, all that good stuff. Tell the broader story, like I mentioned. Talk about the ecosystem as a whole. I see it as a way to talk about the new integration as the way to get in, and then tell that full story while you've got the attention of your customer. And then last is do it all again. Like I said, we've been working with Google for a really long time. We have a history of kind of betting early on what Google is investing in, and it has paid off, I think, every time. So keep building with them, keep building to stay ahead and to also just share what you're doing.